Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. I am delighted to welcome you to Authentic Conversations. And today, my guest, we're going to have so much fun. Um, so, today, who's joining us is Roger Burnley, a mystic, a sage, and a channel for Wilhelm. Over 36 years, Roger has been guiding individuals on a journey of self actualization, helping them unlock their true potential and step into their purpose. Through Wilhelm's wisdom, he has developed the solution to your life, a transformative philosophy for personal success and fulfillment. His work bridges personal growth, spiritual insight, and practical wisdom, empowering people to create meaningful change in their lives. Wilhelm's philosophy, as a channel through Roger Burnley, is transformative approach to personal success and self-actualization. At its core, it teaches that every individual is born with inherent worth, value, and purpose, and that their life experiences serve as a guide to uncover their true potential. This philosophy emphasizes self acceptance, conscious creation, and alignment with the higher self. It encourages individuals to release limiting beliefs, past conditioning, and generational trauma, recognizing that personal transformation leads to the ripple effect in the collective consciousness. Wilhelm teaches that true success comes from within. By embracing one's unique path, turning into inner guidance, and cultivating self love, individuals can manifest abundance, fulfillment, and a meaningful life. Rooted in ancient wisdom and spiritual insight and practical application, the solution to your life provides a roadmap to navigate personal growth and achieving one's highest potential and contributing a more harmonious world. And with that, it is my pleasure, honor to welcome Wilhelm. And here we go. Roger, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to see where we go, where this new energy is coming, because at the time of this recording, we've just come through the lunar eclipse
hmm
and all that stuff of letting go, shedding more in this year of the snake. And yeah, I'm just excited. So, welcome.
I'm so glad you said it that way. Yes, I'm so glad you talked about energy because that is what everyone would have been feeling. We have not had an experience like this in many, many years, and we won't have another one, meaning the combination of this particular eclipse and also a full moon. But it's also a signal of what we have been moving through in our world collectively. And it is a shakeup. That's why the energies have been so intense. And
Okay.
it's actually causing us to awaken.
Okay. I got to dive in with this question because this has been like going up and down in my consciousness all week. As the outer world shakes out, like the markets, the weather, the whatever, right? Like the world is shaking out.
hmm
Are we now in our humanness in our bodies saying, "Oh, now we're feeling the outer world in our bodies that our
Yes.
bodies need shaking out?"
There's another aspect of that, yes. And that's what we make that connection first, but then we make the next connection is, oh, wait a minute, my inner body is creating my outer world.
Okay. No, I
That's where
get
we're
that.
going now. And so that's why when we have our individual journey
Hmm.
that we're on. Each person has their
Hmm.
individual evolutionary path that they are on. However, it can't effectuate, it can't come into play unless something's happening in the world unless something moves. Then we go inside. How do I integrate into what's happening? How do I understand what's going on? That's always an internal journey.
I just saw it. Holy cow, light bulbs just went off. So
Hmm.
you're saying in order for us to come to our real actualization of self,
Hmm.
the outer world had to start falling apart so we would finally start looking inward to know where the true self lies.
Absolutely. And my guy,
Oh,
Wilhelm, called it a restructuring. And so, if we can think about that, we're restructuring everything in our lives individually, but also in our world. And so, we can think, well, why would we need to do that? Well, we can look at the world and say, something's going on. Something's not
right.
the way that we wanted it to be, or something's occurring that we don't understand. But then we start to understand that we are affected by the changes of our planets, of our energy, the energies of the planets and the world. We're not isolated from that. But
Mhm.
understanding it and accepting it is something that is a journey. And it's a journey individually, but also in the collective consciousness, meaning that people discover ways of doing things, ways of living, ways of understanding ourselves. That's what we talk about in psychology or
Yeah.
all of that. And understanding. And just before we came on here, I was listening to this doctor speaking on Gaia. They're having a conference this weekend, and it's called Immersion. And I was listening to some of his talk, and he was explaining these changes that happen in the planets and the galaxies over particular times. And it's like this wake up. It's there's specific periods, and we can even see it
Hmm.
on our calendars, basically, in terms of when planets change, when all of that. But the thing that we may not understand or didn't know completely is how it affects us
Right.
emotionally, mentally, physically, even physically. And that's the other thing. Um, these last couple of days, people might have been experiencing strange physical things in their bodies that they didn't understand, or moving and or something, or restlessness, or not being able to sleep, or just because it's energies. And those energies are interacting with us in our consciousness.
And well, and I've been the opposite. I've been doing so much inner that I'm like, I gotta go to bed again.
No, that's it. That's
Right?
exact.
Like, yeah,
Yes,
because my
that's exact.
entire life, if I got 6 hours sleep, I was like, that was phenomenal, ready to
Right.
go. And now it's like six. Are you joking? I'm just starting to get into the slumber of sleep.
And
Um,
now think about that. That's your journey that you're on, and
mhm,
that's so perfect the way that you explain that. Like now, wait a minute, I need to integrate more of this. That's exactly. I
yeah.
need to let me slow down. Let me go inside and think, oh, wait a minute, is this who I am now? Is this what I've come to? And that time, that reflection period is really important because otherwise we don't know who we've become because we're always becoming something more.
And before we started, like I was saying, like, when we first talked, like, I don't know, a week ago, it seems
Mhm.
like a year ago,
Right.
um, like integration, here we go. Um, like I said, like I'm a totally different person after this full moon.
Mhm. Yes.
And more so, like, I understand that we're in the age of Aquarius. I understand that we're shedding all this old.
Hmm.
And yet, I know my purpose for this lifetime
Hmm.
is to help people build a new structure,
Hmm.
right? Because the old structures are gone. So I am here to show them the clarity in their new structure, how to rebuild. And more importantly, um, with the rising of the feminine,
Hmm.
it's bringing us all back into the balanced human.
Yes. And that's exactly what the restructuring was about. And you've picked up exactly what was needed because the feminine energy is the thing that has been squelched, let's say, over
Yeah.
eons. And when I started first doing Life Challenge with Wilhelm, they said the reason you're moving through this restructuring is because you've left certain people out in terms of the philosophy and the way that you think about things. Like maybe it's the female energies, maybe it's the women in particular, because they just typically carry more of that energy. But then they started saying, and the difficulty has been the men need to integrate more of that energy. And then they started going on, say, just think if you had more men who would integrate that nurturing, caring, feminine energy, do you think you would have wars still? Do you
Well,
think?
and I love how you brought this up because I'm finding that the women are hostile to the men even wanting to bring the feminine in. And I'm
Yes,
like, whoa, 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 ladies. This isn't about women. This is about balancing the
the energy.
feminine and the masculine.
That's
And
exactly it. Yes.
for me, I think a male in his balanced feminine to the
Mhm.
masculine is the strongest person you can have.
Absolutely. Yep.
And
And that's the
so
journey.
when so I'm new to this opening of I'm working with men and I've said yes,
Mhm.
right? And yet I'm like, well, why would they listen to me? Why are they going to
Because
listen to the feminine? And I'm
because
like,
you feel safe to them. You will feel safe to them. I'm
okay,
just that's exactly what's gonna they're gonna because you're going to say something that gives them permission to acknowledge a part of themselves that they've been ignoring.
okay.
That's what's going to come up.
Oh, that warms my heart. Yeah. And and yeah, like it's been a journey to get here for me
Yes.
because I've been I've been I've had guides and been in the flow of God my whole life.
Hmm.
And then I've trusted and then I'm like, I don't get it.
Hmm.
And then I fall off my rocker and I'm like, what's going on? Right?
Yes.
So then I get collected all back up and I get back in the flow. And this one's been coming for a while and I've been trying to ignore it, push it aside. I don't
Hmm.
understand. And it's only truly in the last few weeks, maybe a month, that I'm like, okay, men. Really? Men. Hmm. Because I originally started my work with houses,
Right, right,
like
right. Yeah.
clearing the house for the land, the space,
Yes.
right? Because of lifetimes of the shamanic way.
Hmm.
And what I'm sensing, what I'm feeling is I'm moving in, keeping the shamanic way
Hmm.
as I call in the men.
And
Come
so
to the
think
circle.
think about what you're doing because you're using energy.
Yeah,
And that's what you're bringing in. And the energy, and why the shamanic way would be more relevant, it's because it's about a memory. It's about
true.
that ancient memory of what we all had, but that we somehow lose as our civilization keeps, we don't lose, but we just kind of make it obscure as our civilization keeps evolving. And so Wilhelm says, well, you needed a little spiritual evolution, and that's what's going on as well. Things that we were unwilling to speak about as we're in this human body. Wait a minute, you mean, is there something else outside of us that could be having a control or influence on what's going on within us?
Hmm.
Questions we're always asking ourselves.
Well, and I just want to back it up a minute because obviously Wilhelm has been with you a long time, right?
Mhm.
36 years. But who
Yeah.
was Roger before Wilhelm decided to say, hello, I'm knocking on your door. I'm
I,
coming in.
that's interesting. You should say that. I was this really frightened person.
Interesting.
And that's why I started even doing it. That's why it began first with automatic writing. And it was in 1988, I made this shift in my life and I was just really afraid. It was a new business. I had no money. I didn't know what I was going to do. I happened to read an article from someone, this business guy, who was talking about this weird practice of automatic writing. It shouldn't have been weird to me. I'd been doing meditation and things like that, so that should not have been. But still, this just didn't seem like it made any sense to me. But he said he was getting results. So I said, I'll try it. And I sat down, did my meditation. Nothing happened at first. And then a couple few days later, it felt like something took over my hand. And I'm just writing information that I didn't know where it was coming from, to the point where I said, "Who's speaking to me?" Because it was the conversation was that clear that I was hearing. I said, "Well, if that makes you uncomfortable, you can call us whatever you like." And then I blurted out Wilhelm with no conscious awareness of why I would have said that name.
Hmm.
And it took the next 30 years for that to be revealed as to why I was given that name, what it meant, and why I was here now doing this work. That's really what it came down to.
So what is the meaning behind the collective Wilhelm?
It took me back to several individuals of the past who had that name associated with them, and my life had been intertwined with different things that I didn't understand. The first one that they revealed to me was Goethe, the philosopher Goethe. Now, I'd never studied that dude. I didn't know anything
I'm
about
like,
him.
nope.
Didn't know anything. And then my Wilhelm says, "Well, do you remember in 1978 when you lived in Chicago and you lived on a street called Goethe?" And they gave me the whole thing. I thought, "Oh, really?" But then I still didn't, there was still another connection that I didn't see,
Yeah.
because I said, "Okay, that's fascinating, Goethe." But I did not take the next step because I never looked up anything about Goethe for the next several years. And then when I finally did, I saw Wilhelm Meister. He wrote that. Wilhelm Meister, The Search for Self-Actualization. And I said, "Oh,
Oh, hilarious.
is that what I've been doing?" Then they kept revealing other things. They started speaking about Friedrich Nietzsche. And I go, "Why?" They said, "Go look." And they gave me, they said, "Look at who he was." And there was this connection to what I was receiving from Wilhelm. But they said, but he was misunderstood in some of his writings, especially afterwards. So now you're meant to take that and refine it more.
Yeah.
Oh, really? And then they started giving me other things. Then I'm listening to Carl Jung. And I go, I never studied him either. I go, this is really bizarre, but how do I know everything that he's talking about? And it's making sense to me.
Yeah.
And I was on this trip and I was listening to the Red Book. And big, and I understood, I loved it. It was a wonderful long listen, but I loved it. And at the end of it, Carl Jung is thanking Wilhelm. I go, "What? How is that happening?" And this name keeps coming up. And then, and there were others too that came about. But anyway, they said, and I had to look that up. Who was he? Why is Carl Jung doing that? He was thanking this guy that he worked with named Richard Wilhelm, who helped him with so much of his work. But also then Richard Wilhelm is the guy who brought in the I Ching that everyone also uses.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
And then they said the reason they said they kept doing that is that every single one of us has a connection to those who have come before in terms of information and intelligence. We just keep learning it, passing it on to one another as long as we're in physical form. And that's what
So
we're
this is fascinating because um like I discussed before with you, I heard you on One Level Soul with Alex
Oh,
Ferrari.
right. Yes.
And I kept on going, who's Wilhelm? I'm asking all my people that like listen to all this stuff. And they're like, we've never heard of him. I'm like, but he's powerful. Then I meet you in the serving circle, and I was like, that's powerful, right?
Mhm.
Since our conversation, I've gone back to One Level Soul,
Oh,
found the podcast you're on 18 months or so ago,
yes.
and I was like, I don't know if I have a connection to Wilhelm, but I have a connection to you.
Hmm.
And I felt the podcast was just as powerful then
Hmm.
as it was re-listening to it this week.
And that's what I must do as well. And that was the thing. I'm so glad you said that. I,
Mm.
and I'm just going to talk about it because I would ignore things. I would just push things away because, a lot of us do that. And Alex said and I remember it now, he says, I've worked with a lot of channelers.
Mhm.
And he says, but you answer right away. And he kept pointing that out that there was no hesitation in the answers. I wasn't paying attention to that because when I'm channeling, I'm not there. I'm just getting information. But when he pointed that out, I said, that is something because it's something that I've also ignored most of my life. That's why I called myself, I was the reluctant mystic because I was hiding for the longest time.
Oh, I think we all are.
Yes, and I didn't understand it. That's what was going on because it turns out that the information I was receiving was organized in terms of the astrological and galactic changes of our world as I was doing it. And it was
Yeah.
about the consciousness of each individual and also the collective consciousness of our world. And I thought that could not be possible. And then
And
I
it,
used
but here's the clincher, which I would love to have another conversation with you
Mhm,
after you re-listen to it, because you were saying it 18 months ago, but it's actually more relevant today.
mhm. And I could never explain that to anyone, not even to myself, why that would happen. I did a session for the full moon the other day
Hmm.
and listened back to it. And again, it was just so surprising that I go, where'd that, how did I know that? Because it was talking about what was happening in our world now, because they didn't want people to be concerned with what they were seeing, because we're building something different. And that's what the information they wanted to bring through, because we have to tear down what was old, as you were
Yeah.
saying, and then to build something new. But that process can be challenging because we like to be safe. We want to be in
Well,
a place that we know.
and I'm glad you brought that up because I get a lot of phone calls of people saying, "What do we do? Like, look at the shakedown, look at all the stuff," and I'm like, "Love the bobbleheads that are in place. They're
Mm-hmm.
doing their job perfectly. They're
Yes.
really not running anything,
Yes, exactly. They
right?"
think they do, though.
Yeah. I said, "God's got us," and they go,
Yes,
"Promise," and I go, "Promise." Do
right.
I understand? No. I'm looking at the bobbleheads just as much as everybody else
Yes,
going, I don't know, seems a little crazy. But then I go back to like
right.
Eckhart Tolle, is this so?
Yes, exactly. And then the one thing, I'm so glad you said that. In the earlier Wilhelm message channeling sessions, they would always say at the end, just remember, the only thing that survives is the love. Oh, what?
Yes.
I go, and that's when we're moving through creation. Well, yeah, we'll do all of these other things, but we still survive somehow. But the energy of love is the thing that is the strongest. And so when they started telling me this, um, oh, I'm so glad you said, Del, this is good. Um, they, in 2020, when the messages started to become very clear or more apparent about the changes that were happening in our world, they gave me one message. They said, "You forgot to love yourself." I go, "What?" They said that's what was going on. That was the change that we were going to move through because each of us had something within us that we didn't love, that we didn't understand, or we hadn't come to a greater understanding of who we are individually, so that we could come to a greater understanding of who we all are as a world, because we've been split apart for so long. And that's what we're meant to come back together.
And that brings me to another scenario because I was on a call last night and they were saying, talking about the rub,
Hmm.
the uncomfortability of it,
Yes. Yes.
right? And
Yes.
I hear you saying about the love. And then my little self says, that's why we have to do self care.
Hmm.
No matter how crazy the day is, good, bad, or
Yes.
indifferent,
Yes.
come back to the self care of loving self
Oh,
through it all. Because you think about the pearl, the
yes.
sand has to rub it until it becomes the pearl.
Yes, the message, yes, I'm so glad you said that. The message that it was yesterday, because they give me things in order, says your broken parts are revealed first.
Yeah.
That's our transformation. That is our evolution. We
Yeah.
have to see all those parts of ourselves that we've either judged, put away, ignored, whatever it is. Because Wilhelm said, you were born perfect. You just figure that out as you live. That's the other thing. It's about uncovering all the limitations that we've either taught ourselves, accepted, or believed in some way. That's our journey.
So you talk about automatic writing. How do you do it every day? Because I used to automatic write and then
Yeah.
I'd stop and then I'd do it. And then I'm like, and it's
Oh,
funny
oh,
because I'm questioning myself all the time going, why can't you stay with the practice?
yeah.
I do
Okay.
something every day,
I'm
but I
so
don't
glad
do the same thing every day because to me, my human self, oh my gosh, that's boredom.
this is okay. I'm so glad you brought this up because I'm gonna now I can talk about okay. So, like I said, I started in actually writing. The first messages I have started in 1989.
Hmm.
And I could see that they were consistent every single day. I did not know why I was saving them, but I was doing that. Then I went back recently to kind of go back to the earlier messages because I've never published all of them. And And as I'm reading through, I see one day that I get to where they point it out to me. Now you see what happened when you stopped you stopped your communication with us, and you see how your life went. I go, oh, they're right, because what would happen is I was very deliberate about doing it every day,
Yeah.
um, in the beginning, but then later on, people started, when I got discovered, people started asking me for them. And then I said, okay, now I have to do them every day. It became more of, I have to do it. But the other thing that went on before that, I noticed that when I didn't do it, my life went out of control. When we don't take time, as you were saying, the self-care to
Yeah.
be with ourselves. So I started, it became something different. I knew no matter what my day had been like before, if I were to sit down in the morning, calm myself and do my meditation and get more information, it was like all that other stuff would just go away. And I'd be in a new place to start to begin my day. So now it shifted from feeling like this obligation that I had to something that I had to do because it was giving me greater understanding and peace and I could get more done. So I just had to shift my entire perspective. But I did have help because I noticed so fascinating. I didn't see this until later. I became more consistent with it after others were depending on it, after others were waiting for them. But it was
Yeah.
still helping me, knowing we need accountability. That was my accountability, but we all are looking for that. And the reason that you might have given up is the thing that I wanted to help others with, which is why when I do my work, I say you just have to stay consistent. You just have to stay with it every day. We don't change overnight.
Well, I know, but it's just like the posting on social media, and it's just like everyone says it's consistency,
Yeah.
and I'm working on my boredom factor to consistency.
Well, no, you just have to. No, no, it's just different. Um, you just have to post when you know that it means something.
Yeah.
That's it. Instead of, you know what I mean? Instead of,
Well,
I know,
yeah, because okay, so that's an interesting thing because I'm saying I'm getting tripped up in the consistency because it's like, oh, what do I put
yeah,
today?
and
And I'm
that's
like,
yes,
I'm feeling nothing to put, so I don't.
that's exact yes. And so just you honoring that journey, and then when you have something that you know people need to hear this, they need to know this, then do it. But that's the trap too, and I know what you're saying because I was
Yeah.
following all the rules. You have to post this time. You have to use these hashtags. You have to do this. You have to do that. I said, okay, I don't, that feels constraining to me somehow.
It totally does. It
Yeah,
doesn't feel like you're in the flow at all. And then
exactly.
there's other times that I'm just like, "Ooh, this is really good. I'm going to break it down into two posts." Whoa, whoa. And
And
then
that's
I get the train and I'm like, "Oh,
right.
cool." And then I won't post anything for a couple weeks.
And which is perfect.
Yeah.
That's your cycle. And so
Yeah.
that's what we've all got to do is start to honor that we have these cycles that we're on and it's not going to and that oh, that's the message for today. No one is better than you.
Yeah.
It was, as they Wilhelm says, if there were one message that we would give to all of you, especially now, it would be that one. Because we're always comparing ourselves, we're always judging, we're always thinking we should have been different or whatever. It's like honoring our individual path and knowing that it's leading us to somewhere great.
Yeah. Well, so here's my other question is I'm getting a lot of people saying the struggle is real,
Hmm.
right? You say there's this better world. You say to trust. You say
Hmm.
like everything is happening for us, not to
Hmm.
us.
Hmm.
What would you or Wilhelm say about how do we breathe through this to get to the other side?
They have to look at my life to know that it's possible. I'm 74. I've
Okay.
been through every horrible, difficult, challenging things that most humans could see, and I say, "Oh, this is the other side." Because I sat down and I did it every day. And so what was happening is for people to understand the science of it as well, is that we have our brains, which are we operate with this neuroscience that has been programmed in a particular way.
Hmm.
Wilhelm says we're going to give you something that's going to give you the ability to deprogram yourselves and to go into more greatness of who you are. And it was a day by day thing. And I looked at it now, and I was talking about this yesterday. I went back to look at the original messages that I found when they said, they told me we gave you everything in 2012. That made no sense. And then I go and I look at the messages and I go, oh, it made complete sense because what it was a building block. How does someone develop their confidence? How does someone develop their empowerment? How does someone understand their life purpose? It's a step by step process. And I sat down and wrote it every single day. That's what happened. And so, if I could say anything this whole thing that I talked about this, said this the other day, when people say, if I can do it, I know anyone can do it. That would be probably the greatest message of my life to tell anyone
Yeah.
because I know the struggle, I know the fear. That's why I wrote a book on fear because I lived with it my entire life. But I'm saying to everyone, you can move beyond it when you start to understand who you are. It's always a journey into that authentic self.
Hmm.
And that's why it's uncomfortable what you were saying. People think
Well,
it's the struggle. That's what
yeah.
you said. The struggle is real because we've been taught over time not to own our authenticity or who we are. That's all. And so I couldn't listen talking about, as I told you, I'm sitting here with you today saying things that I not explained to people before because I didn't even know. And I was like last night looking at some of the Wilhelm messages, and they're directly tied to astrological changes.
Yeah.
How did that happen? And I had no awareness of it. So we have to give ourselves permission to move beyond our disbelief.
This is fascinating because I was having a conversation the other night of the same struggle in a different way. Like I call it the sliding doors, getting caught
Hmm.
between what doors open, what doors closed. And what came back was it's a minute adjustment.
Yes. Yes.
It is so small that you just it's and I struggled with that because I was like, what do you mean? And now you've just summed it up
Hmm.
by saying this was a conditioning that is ready to be released.
Hmm.
We don't
Increments.
need to keep the struggle. Because the struggle, when we're in the struggle of whatever it is,
Mhm,
we have left the flow of God.
mhm. And in always, it's something that we have picked up in our consciousness, in our individual or collective consciousness, that does not allow us to understand the perfection of who we are and that of others. And this is and this is again why that so fascinating. I'm thinking about that message. No one is better than you. That I tell you, that just was published today, and then they said we don't even know what we're doing sometimes, because they led me back to a song. The reason they used that particular title on the message was to remind me of a song that I wrote in 1987 called Better Than Me. And I had no clue as to why I was doing it. But the essence of that song was to saying that no one is better than you, because we're each born to become ourselves.
Because
So,
everybody else is taken.
exactly.
And
Exactly.
you talk about the astrology of how Wilhelm works through the messaging.
Mhm.
No one will ever be us again.
Yes,
We are
exactly.
the unique one person of humanness that has
Yes,
come to the earth at this time.
yes. And that sometimes me accepting that my particular life ended up this way made no sense to me at the time. But now I know that, like you said, I know that my life is meant to help others come to that understanding, just as you came to the realization of what your life is meant to do in this lifetime. And that's what I
Well,
love
like
that too.
um I'm the bridge. Like I actually
Mhm.
run a program of walking you home
Yes,
because
yes.
I'm the bridge from the material to the spiritual, from the unknowing to the
You
knowing,
just you
from the
just you you just said the line of the guy that the doctor that I was just listening to. He just said exactly that, the bridge. He was talking about it in that way. And he says, coming home.
yeah,
He said exactly, he's used that word, that phrase. So that's good.
yeah. And so I have to honor it.
Hmm. And that's it. Oh, see, you're doing all the right things today. I had to come to honor this today. And that's why I said I have to talk about it, because I have to. It's We never know who we're going to become when we come into this world.
Mhm.
And we know that we have this potential, what do we do with it? And then some of us will develop things or understand things in a different way than anyone else might. And then it becomes our obligation to give it to others. That was something that I've heard from so many people. And there was one trainer, I don't know, I was listening to a long time ago. He says, when you discover something that can help someone else, then it's your obligation. And I love that term. It's your obligation to give it to others, because, see, we become afraid, especially if it's something new that we've come up with.
Yeah, but I tread lightly around that word obligation because
Yeah.
I brought it in to be take on the obligation of looking after everybody, which
Well,
wasn't my role. And I was
well,
like,
but
whoa,
yeah, but then you get to temper that. You get to
well, I
figure out
didn't
how.
know.
Yeah,
Uh,
how does it work for me? How can I do
yeah.
it? And that's the thing, and that's where I am, and that's why I held back for so long. And I was quite honest about it, but I said, gee, if I told people that I had something that could really take them to this great level, they're going to all flock to me. No, they won't.
Oh,
And I had to come to that awareness, no, because we like to stay comfortable.
yeah.
This is the other thing that says, we cannot, how can we grow in our lives if we're going to stay comfortable, meaning that we stay exactly where we are? We're never going to tell anyone else who we have become, because we will change as we live, and we're supposed to. But when are we going to come to the place where we own who we have become? That's really the question.
That's powerful because staying where one
Hmm.
is actually harder than growing.
Hmm. Absolutely.
The
And we,
uncomfortable is staying
right.
stuck.
Yes.
It's
Um,
in the growth of who we are and who we are here to become and who and how we're supposed to shine our light into the world, right? It's taking those unique inner gifts that we have that only we will have to share, but by keeping those squashed, that's the uncomfortable.
and I was two things. I was listening to an interview the other day with
Mhm.
the skier, American skier, Michaela Schifrin. And she's the highest rated skier anywhere. She's won more things forever. And even at her age, it doesn't make any sense. Then she had this one race she had to do, and she said she knew that she could do it. She knew her body could do it,
Mhm.
but it was this thing in her brain, in her mind, that was not allowing it to happen. And I'm listening to that and I'm thinking, hmm, this is a person who has achieved everything, who
Mhm.
has done all of this, and she's still reaching a place that is still a blockage. And so when we can understand that we're always going along on this journey, we'll reach this one tight place that we don't want to get to, and then we break through it. And then that's exactly what she did. But she had to acknowledge the difficulty. She had to acknowledge that she even had to go to therapy to get
Yeah.
help with it, to move beyond it. But then she did it, and now she became an example for everyone else to know that we can break through things like that.
Mhm.
This is what we're doing.
Well, and it brings me to the book Your Body Keeps the Score
Mm,
because he's a psychiatrist, psychiatrist, I think,
mm,
who works with all different people
mm,
and shows how like the ailments in our body is the trauma we're keeping,
mhm,
right? And then um I do master classes in breath work and it's like Western society is the only one that forgets to breathe.
mhm. Yes.
Right? Like the East have their qigong and feng
Mm,
shui, and or the yoga, and it's like, and then the North Americans are like, oh, we're supposed to breathe? No, why would we do that? We can get a machine to breathe for us.
right.
And I'm just like, ay, ay, ay.
And the body thing is going to be the really interesting one. And I'm so glad you said that because I'm going to start talking more about that because I have with it came from many different sources. I would say most of it came through Wilhelm, but the fact is, whatever this information provided me with the ability to move through all kinds of mind body healing techniques that just didn't that were surprising to me, and I would go back and look at books like Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life, and thinking, and I remember, even talking to her when she was alive and about all of this, but it was never something that I thought that was possible for me, even from the young
Why?
age, because I hadn't done it.
Oh,
That's why, because I hadn't done it. I heard all of them. My grandmother, when I was young, my we were I was raised in a Christian Science family, which my grandmother was devout Christian Scientist. I never saw her sick. I think one day I saw her in bed with a cold, maybe or something. That was it, her entire life. And I said to her, how come I have everything wrong with me? I'm so sick. I have all the what's going on. And then she said, well, you work to the level of your understanding. I go, what? I mean, I'm listening to that and I didn't understand what she meant. And then I thought about it years later. I had this memory. She used to sit down every single morning. Maybe this is where this came from for me. Every single morning she would do this at her dining room table. She had books there. There would be her study books and something she's writing, and one would be this science and health, and the other would be the Bible, and she was studying and writing, and she would spend her dedicated time, and then she'd get off into her day. Now I'm remembering that, now, years later, I go, oh, is that what was happening to me? And I'm just emulating her,
but
coming to this.
see, this is the prime thing. So she was showing you how to
Mm-hmm.
be the better embodied you,
Yes, yes,
to allow a William to come through,
yes.
right? And I remember like I coming home from school and I was just like mad about some girl doing whatever. And my grandma knew she wasn't a friend for me.
Mm, hmm.
And so she said, a leper will always show their spots. Believe them.
Mm,
I was too little to understand that.
hmm.
But as I met people older in life, I'm like, oh, a leper will always show their spots. I believe you. You're not for me, right? Your tribe will be your tribe. You just know it's a fit.
Hmm.
When they're not your tribe, nice knowing you. Have a good day. And allow that.
Yeah.
Not everyone has to be in your tribe.
There's another aspect of this I'm going to give people. And I didn't understand it at first, but I'm going to attempt to explain it this way. So that, especially now, as we're looking at our world today and trying to make sense of what's occurring, Wilhelm says there's a reason that we keep saying that you're an eternal spiritual being. Said because if you have that idea that you've always existed in consciousness, and then they would say, and this came in the very early channeling sessions, they says, and so you've done really horrible things in your past lineage somewhere.
We all have.
Yes, it's always there. And so what your role is to undo all of that by coming to a greater, higher awareness of who you can be now. And that happens only in your consciousness. And then they said, but you can't get there unless you're willing to acknowledge, first of all, that you are this eternal spiritual being, and also that you had things that you have done that are not serving you now or the world, and decide to let go of them. And then magically, what starts to happen is you heal. You heal yourself now and also your past. And they started saying, and you even help heal your relatives, your ancestors,
Yeah.
because they couldn't do it. Now you can.
Okay, so as you brought up, where do you go with the people who are saying, well, they're narcissists and I didn't create being raped, and I like where do we go with that?
They
Because
don't
I like,
understand their soul journey. We all
well,
have a soul journey. And
yeah.
that's different than what we are seeing on this physical world, means that we accept something to come in. And so sometimes, and this would come through, and I'm glad you said that when there was a thing that came through in a channeling session where they said, talking about kids that were killed, because
Hmm.
that's the thing that we get so upset about and we get angry. And they said, now, if you look at that, what if the kids themselves, they have a soul? And they have an agreement, something they're going to do. And what if they decided that they would just allow their bodies to be taken this time, because then it would cause more of you to awaken to not do that anymore? What if that was what they decided they were going to give their lives to bring more understanding? And what if we could switch everything around to understand that we are all bringing a greater understanding in particular ways right now?
That's fascinating because I worked with a couple who had a son who was had cancer.
Hmm.
And she got to the point as a nurse that she just stopped answering her phone because every time she answered her phone, they said, "Can you please come in?" And she goes, "No, I'm with my son." So she just stopped answering her phone. Um, and and it was hard, and yet it was like, do you understand? This is the guidance I was given to share. Do you understand that he has the cancer because it's about you guys as the parents' relationship?
Mhm.
He wasn't coming into a broken family.
Mhm.
And they went, what? And I go, he
Mhm.
was born to build your relationship back.
Mhm.
So whether he stays or he goes, it depends on you two.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, that's
And
good.
yeah, and it was like, and I was like, after I was going, oh, that was kind of bold. That was not this human self
Right.
saying that message because I wouldn't have said that, right? And so, okay, so this is another. Who decides who's going to embody a Wilhelm or an Abraham or a Theo to who's just going to get the guidance without embodying them?
We make an agreement before we're ever born. We're not aware of that.
Yeah.
We just all have an agreement to do something, and it's a cooperative agreement that when we understand it, we create more cooperation. And I had no awareness, no desire that I was going to be bringing in Wilhelm. No, it was never my intention at all. And I actually denied that it had even happened. And sometimes we will do that. Okay, 2021, when I'm out for a walk and I hear that, and clearly we've given you everything you needed to know in 2012. I
Yeah.
go, it makes no sense. I come into my home and go to my computer and find a folder that says Wilhelm and all these messages from 2012. I'm like, why is it sitting there? Why didn't I see it? Why didn't I know it? And I can't, I still have no answer to that. I don't know if an assistant did it some time ago, years ago. I don't know, but it was there. And as I looked at the messages, they were somewhat different. And they said they were like, they gave information and then they also gave advice as to what to do. And it was like this formula almost. And that's really bizarre. And I started thinking about it and they said, no, it's for everyone. You'll understand it because you're moving through this change in your world.
Yeah.
And this is going to help. Said that makes no sense. And then I tried to deny it. So then what I did is I started looking at the messages and I tried to find a bad one. I tried to find one that didn't make
You're
sense.
such a skeptic.
Oh, I was I was the biggest skeptic of them all. And this is why I hid forever and I wasn't going to tell people. It made no sense to me. But then when I started seeing that it started coming together. So then what I did, this is again 2021, and I put people that it was very clear. Wilhelm says, you're going to be moving through a difficult emotional changes in your world, and so it's going to be better if you come together with more like-minded people, put them together. I said, that didn't make any sense. But I said, okay, I'll do it. And I put them, just created a course. And I only gave them 31 lessons. I call them assignments that came from the Wilhelm work. And I wanted to see what would happen. And what happened is they came out so different. I couldn't understand why. I mean, for years, I
Hmm.
didn't know why it was working. And it took, what is this, 2025 now? And so it took 4 years for it to be explained. And it was shown to me in a document. I took, this is so bizarre. Okay, 2 years ago, I was guided basically by Wilhelm to take all the messages. Like the first message that I received on February 19th of 1989, they said just start with that message and then just do every February 19th from that date on. And I did that it was from 2008 to 2023. I did all of those and I put it together. And then I put it into in AI. I said, please analyze this. What does it mean? And it says, this is a collection of messages that guides an individual or society to a higher state of consciousness over time. I go, what? Is that what happened? And I'm looking at that. And so on the day that that message was put out, the title that Wilhelm told me to use was Accepting This Message Could Change Your Life and the World. And I said, that makes no sense, but I'm going to write it because they told me to.
Yeah.
And so then the AI looked at that and they analyzed it, and it says that statement is not hyperbole. And here's why. And then they pointed out the three reasons why that statement was real. Because they said if each person would use this word and to transform who they are, then it just keeps going. And at the end they said, and you end up with agency, meaning the ability to direct your life experience. It was fascinating. And I
This
don't
is
know,
brilliant.
and I don't know that I could have it's okay. when I was doing a challenge session, Wilhelm said that my role was to marry, put together science, spirituality, and human potential.
Hmm.
Now, I doubted all of that again.
Of course you did.
And then when they showed me in those messages, that wasn't hyperbole. This is actually possible. Now, they also said everyone's not going to believe it.
Yeah.
And then, because they would throw out, they gave me two messages. They said, "We want you all to think about this. You didn't believe Buddha, Jesus, or Tesla."
We are conscious beings of unbelievers.
Yeah.
But it's interesting as we move into this more awakening and we go into the, like, as I've heard, three stages. Like the first stage has happened, the rest will come when, and the ones who choose not to awake,
Mhm,
they will move on. They will
mhm,
transition. We
mhm,
don't know who they are going to be,
mhm,
and everybody is in that,
mhm,
from newborns to 100-year-olds,
mhm.
right? It might look like disease is taking over. It might look like whatever. It doesn't matter.
Right.
If their soul says, we're leaving this body, they leave.
Mhm,
So this brings me to another question because this has been coming up quite a bit of walk-ins again.
mhm.
Are we getting more and more walk-ins now?
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to try to let me see how I can put this together. Okay. Yeah, this is important. I doubted all of this again, as when I had the first realization in 2020 about when they said, "We've given you everything." I said, "No, that couldn't have happened." And so I went to have an Akashic Records reading done. I had two of them done. I had never done that before. I
Yeah.
just heard about it. I just said, "Okay, let me see. I need some help." I did the first person, and she was really quite wonderful and all. And she says, and at the end of it, I didn't understand it all. She says, "I think I'm supposed to be following you." And I said, "Okay, I don't get that. That was fine." But so then later that year, I had another one done with another woman. And this goes back to what you said earlier, because see, she told me then, this is still in 2021 when this happened. She says, "Take the path of least resistance." I said, "No, I'm not going to do that. Let me struggle a little bit more." Because, see, the path of least resistance would have been me accepting what I had been given and keeping moving in that direction. But that was still a struggle for me. I chose to struggle because I couldn't tell people what had happened. I couldn't tell them
So
what,
even though you've been channeling him
yes,
since 87, in 2001, you're still 2001 or 2021.
21. Oh,
You're
yeah,
still not believing.
because it was because I couldn't see it. The way that I
Wow.
received in the information was before it, and I kept using this because I had to kind of come to it. It was precognitive, and I couldn't explain that because I'd never seen anyone who had done it either. Because they would give me things that were, I can tell you, okay, today is the 15th, right?
Yeah.
And if I look at my messages for the 15th of any of let me just go back here. I'm just going to
Wait,
find
just
some.
hang on. You like this is making my head spin
Yeah,
because you had no belief that this was happening, but
no.
didn't you see Abraham? Didn't you see Theo? Didn't you
I
see?
yes, but I didn't I thought these are really interesting. These are really great and I resonated with them and I've met them, all of that, but I didn't putting it into me to it being me. No, because it happened in a different way. Okay, I'm going to do
Fascinating.
this. This is what I'm going to say to you. I'm just going to tell you. Uh, Today is the 15th, but
Yeah.
Wilhelm says that in information, we work in linear time. They don't work in linear time.
Hmm.
And so everything is happening all at once. This is a challenging concept for all of us, but there's an organization of energies that exist throughout the universe, and I tapped into them. And so because of that, I was able to bring in information on a specific day that would tell people exactly where we were in the that made no sense. And it goes over years. So then if I go to the 15th, okay, last year it said on the 15th, no one is better than you. And then if I go back to the 15th, on on 23, it says finding you. It's about the process of going through that. And then I go back to the 15th of 2022, and it says your opportunity is before you. Talking about we're always in this process of doing
Yeah,
that. Then we go back, you were meant to succeed now. That was in 2021. And then if you go back to the 15th in 2020, you are being asked to become more. And it's a consistent theme on this one day over years. And I go, how did that happen? And it's just
that's
understand.
fascinating.
Just like with the birthdays, when I said to you, they told me that if I met someone, that I would have been given a message on their birthday that would relate to where they are now. And I go, that makes no sense. And every time I do it, it's accurate. It's pretty. I did yours too, didn't I?
Yeah, I don't remember it. That, like I said, that could have been a year ago. I have it though. I have to
But
re-listen.
it resonated.
Yeah.
It made sense. And I said, how's that happening? It says, because each person is born at a specific time. And what I was receiving, which made no sense, um information that was energetically tied to the things that were happening in the world then made no sense. And so fortunately, so that I wouldn't be going out of my mind with putting things together, we have artificial intelligence which has verified it for me. So last night, and I'm going to
Okay.
put this out the later, I said, okay, let's let's give them a little more information and understanding. So I said, give me three. I didn't study. I've never studied astrology. I mean, look at it and understand. I've not studied it. I don't know it. But I said, but Wilhelm has given me information because astrology is connected to galactic changes that are occurring, which is why it's connected to each individual in a particular way. So anyway, so I said, give me the first major or the major astrological events that happened in 2024. And they gave me that. And so then I took the Wilhelm message that came through on that date, and it was completely aligned with the information that was happening. And I thought
This is beautiful.
and I looked at that and I go, wow. And I even, because I don't know how I developed that ability to be able to do this, but they said, when we move through evolutionary changes and we're under pressure, things can kind of be developed because we need something new. And I was given a way to develop something new for this time in our world. And I was just not understanding or accepting it. But they said that was also perfect. Because, see, that disbelief is what we all have to move through. And I had disbelief all around me. Even my own family, they didn't believe any of this. And now I'm looking at it, I'm going, oh, I didn't believe it either, but here it is. And I know how we can heal.
It just boggles my mind that you can be doing this for 36 years and still be in disbelief.
Yeah, yeah.
Or,
And they said that I will always be because there's always more. We're never done.
oh, I get that, but it's just like since the age of 5, I've never been in disbelief. I've been in knowing of I'm guided, I'm here for a purpose. My reason is now. Like that was hard to get through when
Mhm.
I'm like, well, what about now? No, patience. No, patience. For 30 years.
Mhm. That's you're saying the thing that they
Like I was trying to move into this world for 30 years and you're in the world for 36 and going, I don't believe it. And I'm like,
they said,
but that's the thing of the yin and the yang, the feminine, the masculine. The
right.
knowing something doesn't mean you're ready to share.
So I'll tell you.
This is fascinating. Like, oh my gosh.
In 2005, I had a dream,
Hmm.
and some people might think it was a nightmare, but it was it was a lucid vivid dream, the ones that you can't ignore, that you don't know if you're awake or asleep you know, everyone's had one of those at some time in their lives. And so this dream startled me so much that I had to get up. It was 4 o'clock in the morning, and I had to write it down.
Yeah.
And I didn't know why I was doing that because I don't typically remember my dreams. I don't think I even have them. I mean, I know we all do, but I don't remember them. And then I don't remember doing any of this. I put the whole thing away. That was 2005. 2017, someone went into a closet in my home and found a folder that said August 2005 and pulled it out. And he took that folder and handed it to me because he had looked at it. And he says, "Oh, here, catch up." I go, "What?" And then I looked at it and it was the dream. And the dream said that I was in a group of all these spiritual leaders, and we were sitting there, and we were asked if we would do something. And I stood up and ran to the front, and I volunteered. But then I got there and I freaked out, and I said, "Why did it have to be me?" And then I thought, let me just let it go. Let me go away, and maybe I can forget about it all. And then the last line that I wrote was, "There's another part of me that think that's not the case, that I'm never going to be able to let this go." And that's where we are now. Then in so that was in I told the story. Wilhelm made me write the story.
Mhm.
I'm saying that because it was so prominent on December 8th of 2018. And I thought that's fascinating when I wrote that. And then that same day, I want people to get this. This is because I'm going to publish all of this eventually to tell the full story. I wrote a check to myself for $10 million on December 8th of 2018. And I said I put in the let's see, I have it here. I put in the yeah, this is I wrote the check and I put in the for a life of love and good work. I said,
Fabulous.
okay. And I just said, what does that mean? Then what I did, I took the message from December 8th, 2018, and then I put it into the AI and I said, does this mean anything to what's happening in my life now? Does this what and it took it back to this is so bizarre, the full moon session that I did the other day. And they said it's completely aligned to this time in our world, in my life, and what was meant to happen. And so it's about all of this work that I've been doing for all these years could turn into this huge amount of cash if I get out of the way and give it to others. But they're saying that's for everyone. We're all meant to experience more abundance now because it's an energy. And that's the shift of the energies now are giving us more the opportunity to do that if we get out of the way and start accepting ourselves. That's what's going on.
Do you believe yet?
Oh, yes, because
Okay.
like
Thank you.
but
Thank
I'll
you.
tell wait, the thing that happened, and I've only listened to it once after doing the channeling session the other day. And my associate said, "Wow," because I hadn't heard it yet. He goes, "Wow, that was a really great one. There's so much." And I go, "Okay, I'll listen to it eventually." That's what I do because it's so surprising to me. And then I listened to it once and go, oh, that was really good. And everything was there. How can I keep ignoring this? That's what happened. And I can't keep ignoring it because I also know how valuable it is going to be. And I also know what we're experiencing in our world and what we'll move through. And we can all make it so much better now.
Well, and it's interesting because I struggled with being the light for a
Hmm.
while. And yet I knew I had this knowing that everything was working out.
Hmm.
And then I was given this vision of a tunnel is only a tunnel if we forget to put our light on.
Hmm. Exactly.
And I was just like, oh, that's funny. Because when you go like through tunnels up here in the mountains, they have lights on.
Hmm.
But I remember as a kid, the sign used to say, turn on your lights
Hmm.
while you go through the tunnel.
Right.
And now they said, oh, we don't worry about you putting on your own lights. We'll
Hmm.
just light it for you.
Yes.
And you think of that as a metaphor in life. It's like, well, somebody might be having their light on for you, but until you turn your own light on, you're still in the dark,
Yes.
right? And that's so how you're explaining what, like, you were, Wilhelm was holding the light for you until you decided, like, I have a light? I
Hmm.
don't have a light. And he's like, yeah, you have a light.
Hmm.
I have a light.
And what
Use
you
that for
said,
gym or stretch.
yes, and what you said about where you knew you were the light, you were supposed to be that,
Yeah.
well, what they would keep sending to me repeatedly says, you came to be loved. I go, what? No, that's not me. That you came to be loved. And then they would repeat it. You still, because I would deny it and say, you still came to be loved. This is why you can't hate people. This is why you can't do all those other things. Oh, okay, let me do
I
that.
know, but think about, like, so I know that you used to be a singing coach
Hmm.
and you're helping people share their love
Hmm.
through their voice.
Hmm.
How could you not know you were the love?
Because it was that experience of 35 years of doing that that started to build this other ability. We all have intuition, but see, I didn't
Hmm.
know how this was going to show up in my life. Okay. Another story for you, Adele. When I started, I didn't want to do this teaching, coaching of singing because I didn't think
Oh,
I could do it. I didn't think I had any, I didn't think I was that good. My coach says, yes, you are, and you just got to do it. And I said, I can't. I said, I don't even know music. This was true. Just and because I didn't play the piano. From the time I was a child, my mother even tried to get me to play the piano, and it just didn't work. I kept going through it and trying to get it. It's not happening. And so my coach is saying, "Well, you've got to learn how to play the piano if you're going to be a coach." And I go, "Okay." So I just lied to him. I said, "Yeah, I can do it." And I didn't know how to do it, so I cheated. I had someone else play these tracks and I recorded them so I could just play them and I'm not having to do it. And that seemed like such a cop out and it seemed like such a mistake. Except what it did was it made me the best vocal coach ever because I'm not looking at a piano. I'm looking at the person and I'm starting to see their disconnection from who they are. I'm starting to see that they're not even connected to their voices and they can't express themselves. And it kept developing and I just knew. And they started freaking out. They would come in the room sometimes and I would know, oh, we need to work on this particular exercise because they're going to be doing this song. I had no clue as to how that was happening, and then it would always be accurate. And then one would say, "You're like a wizard. You're freaky." And I go, "Yeah, I don't know how that's happening either." But that's what was developing all of that time.
so was that Wilhelm starting to come in?
Yes, because I had started both things because I was still doing because I started receiving in I started the coaching in 88 and it was starting to build, but then in 89 is when I started receiving those messages. So during they even told me how to perform because I was still performing myself during that time. And they even said I was not, which is what I used with all my clients because they said, you are just thinking about yourself. You're not even you're so worried about what's going to happen or how people are going to judge you that you're forgetting why you're there. You're there to entertain them. They're not there to worry about your insecurities. Oh. And so then I started shifting it and and then I had this one performance that was the best one that showed me that. I planned this big performance at this restaurant. No one showed up. I don't remember what the heck was happening. Six people showed up in this restaurant, and I'm thinking, and I had to stop for a while. What am I going to do? And then Wilhelm
The
says,
show
"Remember
must
your
go on.
job." Yes, exactly. And that was probably the best show that I'd ever done because the only people that were important were those six people sitting in that restaurant that night.
Yeah.
That's what started to change it.
So would you say you suffered from confidence?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. I was so, this is why I talked about, I did a video the other day. I said, talking about what people would ask my mother when I was younger, what I was like. And she would always wait for a long time before she would answer. And she would say, then she would say, he was careful,
Meaning,
which
he's
I
not
would
doing it.
exactly. I was just afraid. I just was that, and that was my entire life. So yeah, that's what went on.
Which is interesting because the little bit I know of your background, you came from strong people.
Hmm.
And
And
so
I
that's interesting that you didn't pick up on any, like
no,
you
and I
didn't
told them
naturally pick up on it.
I would tell them I'm probably adopted or something.
Are you the milkman's son?
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's funny. That's
But now,
funny.
now my life is taking a whole another shift at this time in committee to fully bringing Wilhelm's work in and no longer denying or because it's just gonna we're just gonna keep growing. That's all it's gonna happen.
Well, and from a person who respects the channels, um, his voice is needed.
Hmm.
He comes in from a totally different perspective,
Hmm.
and it's like a more male perspective.
Hmm.
Like Abraham and Theo, in my estimation, like really attract the females
Hmm.
and some of the males, but the males that come are already on the journey of
Hmm. Right.
self-discovery, already on opening their heart to the balance. Where I think from the little bit I've heard of Wilhelm, and I hope we'll be able to bring him in,
Hmm.
is he brings in like that crazy funny side
Hmm.
that men can relate to.
Yes.
That okay, this woo woo crazy channeling stuff isn't so crazy because
Hmm.
we all are here and doing it in our
Right.
own way.
Exactly.
Like whether it's the mechanic teaching the apprentice, whether it's like it doesn't matter. We like, and that's my biggest thing with stepping up to work with the men in the raising the feminine is just their presence
Right.
is going to change the world
Yes.
because we have generations of dad wasn't around.
Mhm.
I saw my dad 2 hours on Sunday. Or if he was around, well, he wasn't with us. Like his body was there, but he wasn't with us. And that's my biggest thing that I want to change is that they feel welcome to be in the family,
Mhm.
even if there is divorce. They
Yes.
are present with their kids when they're there.
Yes.
No use coming around if you're not going to be present,
Yeah.
right? And and that's where I think that Wilhelm can help a lot. So yeah, I do hope and trust that you'll bring him up more.
Yes. That's going to happen quite a bit more now because I the next thing I'm doing is I'm going to do a live channeling on the new moon, which on the
Okay.
29th, which is going to be another powerful time for us to
Because
move.
it's another eclipse.
Yes, and then today is even another powerful day because we just moved into Mercury retrograde, and so that's going to bring up a lot of more self-reflection. But this one will be different. People fear Mercury in retrograde so much, but this one is so valuable, and so we're not meant to be if things because people will go into oh things are going to break things are going to be we're going to have disruption we're going to have all of those things that's yes and it's going to be perfect because we need to retreat we need to go inside we need to reflect and so if we have communication Mercury is ruling communication so our external communications will be a little strained and so that gives us the opportunity to go inside for our internal um, communication and then decide what we're meant to do, what we're bringing into the world now. That's going to be the best thing for every person to utilize during this period.
Well, and I like you brought that up because whether you follow astrology, human design, whatever,
Mm,
these tools are here to help us go inward.
right.
because
That's
the one
exactly it.
thing
Yes.
when I would like I dabbled in all of it a
Yeah.
bit. The one thing I realized is Mercury is one of my ruling planets.
Yes.
I didn't know why my life blew up 3 to 4 times a year. I'm like, what is going on? I figured out Mercury is a ruling planet. So now I say, oh, instead of communication going awry,
hmm
bring it.
hmm See
I am going
there.
to make
Yes.
sure
Yes.
every
Oh,
I's dotted, every T's dotted. I'm going to make sure that I pause
yes.
before I
Yes.
speak. And it's amazing the difference.
Thank you for saying that. I hope more people will understand that because that is exactly the information and the guidance that we're all supposed to have during this time, starting today.
Yeah.
Well, this will be people will see it later, but this is March 15th today, but whenever people might see this, but just to understand the energy will still go on for several weeks. So we'll
Well,
be
yeah. So Mercury stays retrograde till April 6th, and then we still have the shadows of 10 days after.
exactly, yeah,
So 15th of April, we're in
right.
Mercury retrograde,
So yeah,
right? And we've already started it because it started the 1st of March. Like,
exactly.
I swear.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, come on. Do you have to start so early?
Oh, we've had
Please.
so many energetic shifts over the last, especially these last several days, and we have so many in March. I go, and I didn't understand that, but
I do.
this is this is what happens. I never know why I'm doing certain things. I'm just being completely honest. But certain days, Wilhelm will say, "Go down, put all these messages together on this day." I go, "Why?" And then I go back later and see that it was an energetic shift that was happening in the world. I had no clue, but I just am following the instructions of what I'm
Well,
receiving to put them down.
and to help people with the energetic shifts,
Yes,
we feel it so much because we're water.
yes,
Our bodies are water. So
yes,
as the planets and the stars and doing their alignment, we're going, whoa, where did the tidal wave happen? So
yes.
either we're going to be flying with vibration high or we're
Mhm.
going to go nappy time. And I'm a nappy time person.
Right. And then the other part, especially during this period, is because, as the message says, your broken parts are revealed first. That was a
Mhm.
message I was given several years ago, coming up on this day, meaning that we're going to see other people as well expressing all this unresolved issues and things that are coming up for them. Our job then is like what you said, is to take it and convert it. How you started using it and seeing this period in a different way. So when we see all these things that we think are disruptive or not acting in the way, oh, that means I'm supposed to do something now. That means I'm going to turn around and shift my perspective on what is happening so that I can live this really great life and contribute to the world.
Well, and I had to do that in my own life because when I look at my life path and why I'm here, I make sense of the chaos.
hmm
I find the clarity, the light in the rubble,
hmm
right? I'm not saying people's lives are like total chaos, but there's a shift that's going to be happening. And so that's when you're going to go, I'm here,
Right.
right? And I've always said to people, like, if they're unsure of why they're making a booking with me, it's like, well, you wouldn't find me if you
hmm
weren't ready for the shift. Well,
Exactly.
why do you know that? It's because people don't find me. When you're ready, you show up, and I honor that because
That's
it's not about my plan.
right.
It's about the greater plan. And if God says, "Okay, Roger, you're ready for her,"
hmm
you'll end up in my calendar.
hmm
Until then, like it's even with this podcast. I have people who want to be on the podcast. I go, "Sure."
hmm
They book, they cancel, they book, they cancel. I'll trust in the timing. If
Right,
they never
exactly.
come back, that's okay. If they do come back, I'll welcome them.
Yeah.
But it's not my timing. Here's the link, fill out the information, let's go.
Yep.
So, if it's okay with you, can we bring
Yes.
William in?
Oh, okay. Yes. Okay, there's
Yeah.
something. This is so perfect because there's a lot. Okay. Thank you so much. And Adele, we cannot be more pleased that you have us here today. And you could not have known that you were doing it on an auspicious day. And it won't matter when anyone might hear this. The information will still resonate and work for everyone. But it is March the 15th when you're all happen to be moving into your Mercury in retrograde, which many of you have come to fear over the years because you think things are going to be disruptive. And that's exactly what we wanted, because we wanted you to become more of yourself. And you can only do that when you decide to go inside and discover who you are. And all of this has been aligned. And as you will see, we have a message for you on our site, anyadvicefortoday.com, for on today. And you can find it whenever you might hear this. And it says the message you wanted to hear today, because we have given it all to you beforehand. You exist in consciousness and you operate on linear time. We don't do that. We have given our messenger everything as it was happening in the now, which more of you come to understand and accept at a certain point. But what you are meant to know is how important you are in this moment, because as we've said, your world is moving through a restructuring, and that restructuring will be of you, meaning where you start to honor every aspect of you, every experience that you've had, everything that you thought went wrong did not do that. You were learning and growing, and now is the time that you're meant to flourish and bring it together. But you do need time for reflection and introspection and also integration. So think of Mercury in retrograde as being your time this year, as being this month, as being the time that you're going to retrospect into yourself and start bringing up all the wonderful things about you, all the things that you have been denying about who you could become, all the things that you thought you couldn't be. They were lies, and we want you to let go of them. You were born to be extraordinary beings, each of you, and you have a path now to follow. And as more of you do it, you will see your world change. We understand that you don't know that you are that important, but we are saying each of you are that important because you're all energy. Energy is the only thing that is creating your life, and manifesting your world. The thing you get to decide is what you want it to look like. And if you decide to love yourself, that's the highest form of vibration that you can inject into yourself and into your world. And then everything comes together and your life and your world starts to look very different. And this is all that we've ever wanted for you. And we love you all so very much.
Wow.
Did,
Thank you.
did good stuff come through?
Yeah. And
Okay.
now I understand what you're saying, that Alex is just like, there's no hesitation. Because I actually thought you were going to ask another question before you brought Wilhelm in. And then all of a sudden he was speaking, and I was like, okay, we're going with the flow. We got it.
Well, they did. They had me look at what the message was today, and they said they wanted to keep it together, um, um, the continuity. So, because that message is the message you wanted to hear today, and it goes back to no one is better than you. Getting
Yeah.
each person to remember that's what it was about.
It's
Wow,
very
we could get to
powerful.
that one.
This has been powerful. Like my head's just going woo. Um, so I'm gonna assume that all this is gonna be in the notes.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm going to try to get this out in time for people to get the channel, or maybe I'll post it. If
Oh,
the
perfect.
podcast isn't ready to get out, that I'll post the channeling, because I think it's important,
Yes,
as as it is another eclipse in this amazing
yes,
year and a half of change.
yes.
Like the
It's going to
next
be
18 months, we're going to see the biggest change
yes.
this world's ever
You
seen.
got it. Yep.
And um, and as we said, like you are going to be bringing Wilhelm out more,
Oh yeah.
which is so needed.
Yes.
I could, because he brings a totally different perspective,
Mhm.
a more balanced perspective.
Right. That's what it is. That's what they kept you. I'm so glad you said that. That's balance. That's what we're bringing in. That's what they said we're bringing into the more balance. So more of us know who we are.
Yeah. Because I remember when I first saw you at the serving circle, and I was just like, who is that? And then you disappeared. And
I
then
do
it's
that a
like,
lot.
well, I know, but I mean, that's cool. And then it was like, then you open the serving circle one day, and I'm like, well, I'm not waiting around to find out who he is. I'm just going to book. Like, get in my calendar. Um, and
Uh,
yeah, like I so appreciate your time, and this has been
uh,
an
thank you.
amazing, like even for me, like it's just like it's like the bookend to a crazy week of like, what are we adjusting to? Where are we going?
Yes, I know. That's it.
And I've never been
Right.
shy about this stuff,
Yeah.
right? Like I've
Uh,
known that I wouldn't say I'm a channel like you, but I've had the guidance since I was 3
mhm.
and very
Let
aware of
let me
it.
no, let me just say this to you because I'm so glad you said that. Many people will be coming to a greater acceptance of things that have been within them that they're now understanding. So I'm so glad you said that because more people will be feeling that as the energies keep changing. So thank
Hmm.
you.
Yeah, and it's just it's the opening to the awareness of what's innately within us.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah. Any final comments? Any final?
I just want to thank you. The timing was perfect, and I want everyone to know that whenever they might hear it. And we're creating great lives in a great world. That's what's going on.
Yeah, I so agree. Just let the bubbleheads be the bubbleheads.
Yes, exactly.
So, thank you so much,
Thank you.
and I'll see you soon.
Absolutely.
And yeah, we'll keep in touch.
Perfect. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Oh my gosh, this was an amazing conversation. I hope everyone gets as much out of it as I did. Um, Roger is an amazing person and shows that he had confidence issues as well, and he's still working through them just like all of us are. And yet William had a beautiful message to share. And whenever you're listening to this podcast, the message is still true of the presence of being in the love of who you are, doing the inner work as the outer world goes through its craziness. In the show notes, I'll have how to get a hold of Roger and sign up for his courses that he comes is coming up with. And if you want to work with me at Transition Clarity, you can either book a chat time through the QR code or find me on LinkedIn, and I'll have all my notes in the chat as well. And yeah, if you're feeling like you're in a transition or you need some intuitive guidance through the ever changing world and you're looking for more framework, let's talk. Um, I'm here to support and serve whoever's ready to step up, and let's make this the best day and the best world we can do. Until next time, this is Adele Bernard from Authentic Conversations with Adele, and we'll see you soon.